rewatch this afterwards. So that...
We're live.
Oh, sorry. Hello. Hold on, there we go. We're jumping on, honestly, a little
frazzled,
frantic right now.
We got in, long day of travel yesterday. We got into our place at pretty much midnight last night. So here we are.
But Miguel wanted to get some thoughts out, obviously, to everybody that was watching over the weekend and really just for himself. And he figured that this is the easiest way, or it really has been the easiest way for him to digest everything post-race. So might as well just share it with all of you and then talk through it.
After this, we can never think about it again and we can move on. So before we get started, just wanted to give a special shout out to all of our sponsors. Well, I guess first, special shout out to all of everyone that supports us, everyone that is on this in this live stream right now, everyone that watches our videos, everyone that was out on the course cheering. This is what drives us. This is what keeps us moving forward and getting better at the sport and getting better at making videos and hopefully being a nice little fun resource for the whole triathlon community. So it's super fun to do because of everyone here. Our sponsors, Quintana and Vision, have been the most helpful step in our progress in this sport, in our careers. So it's just been amazing to work with them as partners and just great people to work with, great products. And then all of our, partners aside from Quintana and Vision, especially Precision Hydration, has been amazingly helpful. Check them out. The resources on their webpage are phenomenal. Rule 28, supplying our kits and apparel for this year. I don't know. Yeah.
And really, again, all of you for watching along and cheering for both of us. All the messages flowing in this weekend were amazing. And you say that we inspire you, but really you all inspire us to continue doing what we're doing. So thank you.
Also before, in regards to the community, I'm on the hunt for the person that was holding a lime green sign on the gravel section of the run course. It had something about a car burrito, but I'm really curious. Who are you? Who are you?
And why'd you fly all the way to Finland with that sign? To hold that sign.
Cool. That's it.
That's it?
Bye. No, just kidding.
As you're watching, if you have any questions for Miguel, this is just going to be a really loose live. I have not done the prep that I usually do for it, so apologies on that front already. But leave the comments, any comments and questions that you have in the chat on the side. And we always solicit questions on Instagram before these. So if you don't follow us there, check us out at Freestyle Tri and Jenna Hoffler and Miguel Maddox. So I guess we can just roll straight into it.
Done with that. All right. Yeah, let's do it.
How are you feeling today, really?
I feel fine. I've had a lot of coffee and maybe I don't feel fine. I don't know. A little bit of brain fog. Jet lag is okay. Body is actually surprisingly fine. Feel like the more you train for these things, the better your body gets at recovering from them. So you kind of feel like, oh, did I try hard enough because my body feels fine? But I think it's just a testament to, the training. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling okay.
We've gotten a lot of questions about your fueling and your nutrition strategy throughout it. And I feel like that also makes a difference in how you feel after the race too, if you nail that. So you want to walk through what you did?
Yeah. So, I mentioned this, but Precision Fuel and Hydration has been a supporter of us for the entirety of this year. Not only do they provide us with product, which we actually thoroughly enjoy when we're training and racing, but they also have a bunch of resources and sports nutritionists, sports scientists on their team that offer up consultation, so you can really dial in a strategy. So that's where I've kind of learned how to do all of this year. But the goal for this race, because it wasn't super hot, I won't get into like details of the strategy because it's all personal. But I just wanted to eat a lot. Didn't need to drink as much because it was cool, so I wasn't sweating as much. Still, hydrating is important. Getting the electrolytes in is important. So having that balance, that ratio is super key. Not over drinking without electrolytes, but not like flooding your system with salt. But eating a lot was important. I probably had about 110 to 120 grams of carbs per hour on the bike. So I was out there for about 2 hours. So I consumed over 100 grams of carbs per hour, 200 milligrams of caffeine through that. And then also 60, probably 90 grams of carbs on the run. So a little over an hour of running, but 60 to 90 grams of carbs on the run there, with some caffeine. Again, a lot of like fluid and electrolyte, but not as important. It was kind of loose this race because I feel like I've dialed in my plan, and now I can just kind of play with like, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? And just try to balance out the two as I'm racing.
Cool. Luke just rolled into the comments asking how you did, for everybody who
Oh yeah,
doesn't
we should
know.
start with that.
Yeah, you want to talk very briefly about it?
Yeah. I finished 31st. This was my third pro race ever. This was my first world championship ever. I knew it was going to be fast, but it was really, really fast. But I'm super happy with my performance in terms of like my effort on the bike, my effort on the swim, and then running time. Like all of those were PRs. Like I couldn't have worked harder on the swim if I tried.
Was your swim time a PR?
I don't know if it was a PR because courses are always different,
Yeah.
but like in terms of exertion, that was intense. And it wasn't just swimming, but it was like wrestling and fighting too. And so my total time was a 3:48. I biked a 2:07. I got dropped pretty early, so I was riding alone. But in terms of power, it was really consistent, which was somewhat of a downfall. But it was the best ever power for a 70.3. And then I ran a 1:14 off the bike, which was pretty mid-pack in this field, a little above average in this field. So I was really happy with that. It was another 2 minutes off my PR. And on the year, the fastest I ran before this year was a 1:19. So a lot of progress, a lot of improvement this year. So that's what I'm most excited about. So really well.
You said that so casually. Yeah, just 2 minutes off my PR.
More to come.
2 minutes, 2 more minutes next time.
Yeah, I only do even numbers.
Right. I want to start with the swim because a couple questions came in about what it was like, just like how fast it was, if you knew that you were in the front pack, and somebody asked what your least favorite part of the race was, which I knew what the answer was.
A lot of people have asked me that since the race, and it was 100%. The swim was awful. I hate it. I love swimming, but this was not a swim. And I don't think I've done open water swims before, and I know they can be intense, but for me, this was a new level. And I think it just comes with you're put into a mix with, the best athletes in the world that all are trying to win, all are trying to be the best athlete in the world. So there's just a level of skill, fitness, intensity, and just desire to be the best out there, all coming into one place and all aiming for one little buoy out there. So, I position myself right in the middle of the field. Mark Dubrick was one person over from me. I raced him at Alcatraz. He's an incredible swimmer. So I wanted to be next to good swimmers. but yeah, the swim from the gun was just crazy intense. And it was just like that the whole time. And the intensity actually picked up in the last like 200 meters, everybody fighting for position to get into T1.
Wait, talk about your underwaters, your signature move.
Yeah, I dove in, tried to do some underwaters, and I breached under somebody. Like, just, this is me, this is the other person. I just like pushed them up to the surface. So that was probably, I wonder, I don't know. Who are you?
If you saw anybody post about that, let us know.
Can't imagine what that was like. But yeah, that was my least favorite part. Again, I like swimming, but it didn't feel like swimming. It just felt like flailing. Yeah.
Did you know you were out with the front pack?
I knew I was swimming with the front pack for a while. I didn't know I was coming out with the front pack, but cornering buoys, you can kind of lift your head up and see ahead of you and see like who's in the lead. And every time I cornered a buoy, I'd look up and see like I was still in that like pack of swimmers. Whether or not there was someone way up, I didn't know, but I knew like I was in a good position right up there. Mm-hmm. And I think that was my first time in a pro race in the front pack. Like there was no one gapping me, so that was kind of cool.
It was a pretty big front, not to discount.
It was a big front pack, and I was at the very back of the front pack.
Which means you just got to ride in. Yeah.
I'm just looking for improvements. And that was an improvement. So yeah.
How did your preparation for this race compare to like your other two pro 70.3s that you've done, or in comparison to like age group
Any
races?
Other races? Yeah. This year I've increasingly taken preparation more and more serious. And by that, I mean, I don't mean like the training involved, that stays consistent, but the preparation meaning like I need to know the course. I need to know competitors. I need to know like where I'm going to position, like all of the things that kind of lead to how you're going to tactically approach the race. I've paid more attention to. Like when we knew we were coming out here, I was like, I need to be there 2 weeks early so my body can adjust to the time change, my metabolism can normalize, all of those things. And also I can ride and run the course multiple times to, in my head, figure out how I'm going to break things up. It's a challenging course out there. So, I think the more you can know what the turns are like, know like little landmarks through a 56-mile bike course, there are that like, oh, like I'm getting there. I'm at this point. Like, I know this is the time to like change this, or I know hills are coming up. I know the flat part's coming up. And if you do that enough in training, you don't have to think about it on race day. And it makes things go by a lot quicker. So, I really did that well at Alcatraz because we live in the Bay Area. So it worked out. Like I was able to just attack that race really well. And it was because I didn't have to think about where I was. I knew where I was. And that was the same for this. I had studied the course enough to where I didn't have to think about it, but I knew I was comfortable breaking things up. So that type of preparation has just gotten better and better, and it goes a long way. Mm-hmm. I used to discount it. Like when I was racing as an age grouper, I'd be like, oh, I don't need to drive the course. It's 56 miles. Like, yeah, I got it. It's a half marathon. I got it. And, you can only do that so much. And then you prepare for a race once really well, and you're like, oh, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, you said it made a big difference on both the bike and the run for you. You didn't know that there were steps coming out of the swim. But
yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. And I wasn't prepared for the steep ramp out of transition.
Oh yeah.
Like the pedestrian, like so pedestrians can go under it or something, but we had to do that 3 times.
I don't know why they didn't just send the pedestrians over like they did for every other ramp.
Make it interesting.
A world championship course, I guess.
Yeah.
There were a lot of questions about bike dynamics, which are so interesting in a pro field. And that's really what makes the pro field so different than an age group race, is that you do have these like bike dynamics, and it's something that you're still trying to figure out, especially considering this was your 3rd pro race or pro 70.3 ever. Yeah. With bike dynamics. So what were those like, and how did you manage and do you think you did well? Do you think did you achieve what you wanted to achieve there, or is there still room for improvement?
So the question, I guess, is how are the bike dynamics for the 1/12 of the race I was involved in them?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Wait, before I get into bike dynamics, I saw a question. What was the best treat you found in Finland? Hashtag treats for Jenna. Treats for Jenna, if you haven't figured that out. And the best treat, because they're sitting right here, were these Finnish cookies. We brought home like 6 boxes of these.
That's a grocery store treat, but
these are the best cookies, though. Check them out.
Yeah, they didn't really have any cookies at the bakeries that we or the bakeries and the cafes that we went to, but I cannot tell you how many loaves of bread I had while I was there. I'm not a huge sweets person, but their croissants are really yummy, as are their traditional like Finnish rolls and their butter rolls, which if I tried to pronounce them, I would butcher it.
Yeah.
So they're like these super buttery rolls that have like some sugar on the outside, like literally like a pool of butter on the inside. They were
yeah. One time I was like, "What are these?" And they didn't know the word, and I was like, "Butter?" And they're like, "Butter." But yeah, if you see Jenna at any races, bring her a treat. Treats for Jenna.
Okay, the cookies are good. The cookies are really good.
Yeah.
We pre-game this with a cookie.
Yeah.
So.
Bike dynamics. This is the one aspect of my pro racing that I really need to get better at. As an age grouper, you try to be very strategic on flattening the course if there are hills. So holding a steady power from, whether you're going up a hill or down a hill or flat. And also like trying to negative split it maybe. So you're still strong at the back half of a bike leg. But dynamics in a pro race are completely different. It's very surgy. It's very hard up front. People are going all out and trying to get in people's heads, I guess, like, hey, I'm going to be holding this power the whole race, even though they're not. But people try to break you. So we, coming out of T1, it was really frantic and aggressive, which I was prepared for. I just didn't have much direction or training on like how to actually approach that. I stuck to what I was comfortable with and raced the bike leg basically like a time trial, like I have been doing for the last 4 years as an age grouper, which is just like maintaining a steady power and try to feel strong at the end, which I did. I had a very consistent power output. But in terms of how that plays out in bike dynamics in the actual race, that's, where I potentially lost a top 20, top 15 fight. Because I know I can run with these guys and I know I can bike with them, but it's about like using your energy appropriately to stay within the race, not using your energy appropriately to finish as strong as possible, which is what I'm used to still. So that's the biggest area of improvement for me. But I'd much rather be in a position where I have the engine and I have the capability, but I need to figure out the tactics rather than like I know what the tactics are and I'm doing them, but I lack the engine and I lack the fitness. So I feel like I have the hardest part down. I just need to fill in the small details, fill in the gaps.
You want to talk about power numbers from the beginning of the bike to the rest of it? I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
for other people as well.
We don't like to talk too much about power. My Strava's public. A lot of pros are public, so you can check it out. But one thing that I will say, that my coach, Conrad, from Working Triathlete, was analyzing as he was looking at power data, my power output compared to other pros, is he took the top 8 finishers that had public Strava data and compared the first 12 miles to mile 13 through 56. So he wanted to look at power output from mile 0 to 12 and then 13 to 56. And what was the difference between those two? It was a 30-watt difference in average power, average amongst those 8 top finishers. So that shows you, if someone is finishing the race with, the majority of the race with a power output of 310 watts, they're taking the first 12 miles out at 340 watts. And
why do you think that is, to break morales?
I think, you want to be in a pack, but you don't want the entire field to be in your pack. Okay. So I think you try to break as many people as possible, and you try to split the race and create gaps, to give yourself a better chance of getting off the bike, running with fewer people. So, I mean, that's the goal. There ended up being a gigantic bike pack, which I was not a part of. They passed me by. But again, it's like looking at that information, looking at, how things played out and other power output. I'm like, oh, like that's all it takes. I can do that, even though that's, that's still more training, more work, more, suffering. But I feel like I'm at a place where, that doesn't scare me anymore. Like the power data that these top guys are putting out it doesn't scare me. And I think tactically I can do it. I just have to, train a little more to meet that demand and just make decisions to really hurt at the beginning of these races.
I feel like in order to figure out where that line is, you have to put yourself in a position to fail.
Yeah.
Like you have to be spat out the back in some race and like be passed by everybody, will be dropped by your pack, passed by everybody behind, have a terrible run.
Yeah.
In order to learn like where that line really is. Cause I do think you've been playing it pretty safe and like playing it in your safe wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And like Ben Canute went with the pack, and like Matt Hansen went with the pack, and then Miguel ended up like passing Matt during the bike because he got spat out the back.
I ended up finishing right with them, you know, like, and tactically we all have very different races. So I mean, yeah, I think like eventually I just need to make a decision where like I'm going to be in the front pack of a swim, and I'm going to make the decision, okay, I'm going to come off the bike in the front pack too, no matter how hard, no matter how much suffering that involves, that's got to happen. And then I have to see what I can do running off that with legs that are just torn apart.
Fun.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to jump to that extreme immediately. I like my approach right now. I'm seeing a lot of improvement, so I don't want to drastically change how I'm doing things, but like, yeah, I mean, these are things to think about.
Can we talk bike gear? Because you tested out a couple new things in this race.
What did I test?
Most specifically, his liter bottle.
1.5 liters.
1.5 liters. His big boy soda bottle.
I did not aero test this. You just see the data that's coming out of the wind tunnel from people testing this, and then you see people doing it. You don't want to be the last one to do it. I tried it in training, and it felt good.
You want to quickly explain what it is?
Yeah. So what people are doing these days is when they're in aero, there's a gap that forms, under your chest. And ideally, if you were like one big bullet on the bike, you would go faster. Like you want to close that gap under your chest. So athletes are taking a water bottle and sticking it in their kit right here, and it just helps to close that gap. So that's all I did. I took an empty 1.5 soda liter bottle and stuck it under my kit. You put it on in T1. You can put liquid in there if it's a regular water bottle, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It felt normal. I did it in training and it was fine. So I did it in the race, and I don't know. I didn't even realize it was there until I like sat up going up hills and was like, oh, what's that doing there?
Your new double D's.
Yeah.
Did it restrict your breathing?
No, it did not. It was just there. It just felt goofy, and I didn't like sitting up and having people cheer for me because I was like, don't look at me.
Like, this is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Bike setup. What you do? Well, somebody asked if you liked your VPR and how the VPR is treating you in comparison to your bike last year.
Oh God, it is 0 to 100. Like the Quintana Roo makes amazing bikes, and I'm not just saying that. They, they handle super well. They're light and zippy. It's a bike that I was super confident with on a really hilly, shorter race here in the Bay Area at Alcatraz. And for like long TTs, it's super comfortable. And I don't feel like I'm going to be blown over because things are like thick and catch wind really easily, because they do not. So yeah, I mean, I've been extremely happy with the VPR. And more than that, I think what Quintana Roo offers is like the attention to their athletes. They are a triathlon company, so the support they offer for triathletes is better than anything else you're going to get. If there are issues or you show up to a race and there's something going on, you go to the QR tent and they'll give you a no charge free race day tune up. They'll make sure everything's working properly. So that's been a game changer this year. And again, it's not just the gear, but just like the teams that we get to work with now have been helping us get better in the sport, whether that's just like advice on how to set up our bikes, or just like advice on how to do races and which races to go to. And all of that has been really nice. I also saw questions about the calf guards, and that a lot of pros are wearing those. Companies that are using the right type of fabric and that are testing these fabrics have seen like 10-watt improvements just from slipping on these calf guards. So we use Rule 28, and they've been proven in the wind tunnel. You throw them on under your wetsuit and you just keep them on the whole race. Questions around like compression or whatever, there's no compression. You feel like they're not even there. It's just for being a little more slippery on the bike. And then another bike setup thing, our wheels are from Vision TFE, right? That's our disc. The TFE disc, and then we use the Metron 81s on the front. They also have a 91 millimeter deep wheel on the front, which we're getting a delivery. Hold on, Jenna's. But yeah, so the deep wheels, we had questions about like, do you need a disc? Discs help with, aerodynamics and rolling resistance, but if you have like a deep rear wheel, you're going to go super fast. So discs aren't the only thing that you need to go fast in terms of like race wheel setups. So Jenna, I feel lost without you.
I know. You started trailing off a little bit. We just got a new drone, everybody, so stay tuned.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what I did instead of racing this past weekend.
She bought a drone. She ate treats and bought us a drone.
Yeah. Back to our live stream.
Yeah.
Yes, it was too much money, Nick. What area of the race did you surprise yourself the most?
That's a good question. I feel like there were many surprises throughout, but I think the biggest surprise was around the 5-kilometer mark of lap 1 on the run. And you go up a hill, you do some rollers, and then you start going down a hill. And I'm getting in my groove. I'm flying down this hill, and I look way in front of me, maybe about 100 meters in front of me, and I see a little white dot. And I'm like, oh, I'm catching someone. And I get a little closer, and I'm like, that is a full white kit. There's only one man in this field that wears a full white kit.
Who's brave enough to wear a full white kit.
And I get closer, and there's Christian Blumenfeld. And just fly right by him. So that was the most surprising part of the race. And I know not everyone can perform, to their fullest at every single race. And that man has been through the ringer this past month. So
He sounded like he
it
had a
was
tough night before too.
tough night before. And honestly, like that man he defines sportsmanship, because not everyone would start that race, and definitely not everyone would finish that race if they were having the day that he was having. So it was cool to see him get out there and just put his head down and do it. But besides all of that, that was probably the most surprising part of the race. But no, I think like in terms of like performance, there were no surprises. I knew I was fit enough to do every part of the race that I did. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there shouldn't be too many surprises on race day. Like you should kind of know what you're capable of doing. And
did you think you were going to run a 1:14? I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I had no idea how well
you don't know kilometers
Miguel was doing, because the tracker was in kilometers.
Yeah.
And I've got no idea what kilometers per hour are in my brain yet. It hasn't quite clicked.
Yeah.
So I was surprised when I saw 1:14.
Yeah. I guess like I just have become more confident in like the paces that I know I can sustain. So I knew I could hold around like, 5:30 to 5:40 or 5:30 to low 5:40 pace. Probably closer like mid 5:30s on a flat course per mile. So, and this was hilly, but the conditions were good. They were cool. So it was, I just kind of kept moving, kept the engine running.
That's great. We talked a lot about the VIP treatment that you were getting this weekend as a professional at a world champs. Like you had the whole red carpet for you. You got a different like line and transition where the age groupers had to run like half a mile through their transition area. There were like so many good parts about being a professional, but like what wasn't good? Like, was there a bad part about racing as a professional during this race, or just no? Your least favorite part about it?
Well, the swim, but I mean, in terms of like, yeah, the whole like setup and everything, there's a lot of pressure. There are a lot of eyes on you. There's just, you kind of get put in the spotlight, even if you're number 61, showing up to these races. But if you're top 10, you get announced early and go out there. And I'm sure these guys are very seasoned with what that feels like. But it was my first time being put on this stage, and I think it excites people. It gets people going. For me, I kind of like to remain in the shadows and keep just chill before these races. So that heightened level of just like intensity and being put on the spotlight was not my favorite feeling, especially right before the gun goes off. It's like you're standing there and it's like, all right, you have 15 seconds, and the thousands of people that are watching lined up ready to race, the fans along the side of the water, like everyone just goes dead silent. And it was one of the most scary feelings I've had in sports, in swimming background through triathlon. I've never like felt that much like anxiety and pressure. And rewatching the video, we're putting together the YouTube video right now, so rewatching the footage of that, I got hit with that anxiety again. So
they don't even have to play the USAT dun dun.
No,
dun, dun,
no,
dun,
you
dun
feel
before.
your heart. you can hear your own heart do that.
I could feel my heart too. So, which is doing fine. Thank you everybody for asking.
Jenna, how's your heart?
So far so good. Nothing out of the ordinary. The heart rate monitor that I'm still wearing right now until Friday is out of an abundance of caution, but I'm going back to the doctor in a couple weeks, and I'm going to get a little more testing done just in case. Again, it's all just like literally just in case something could be wrong, but it's less than 1% chance that there actually is something that's going on. So I'll be back at it pretty soon.
Until then, treats for Jenna, everybody.
Yeah. Miguel brought back another loaf of bread for me. So
bread for Jenna.
Let's see. What was the biggest lesson that you learned? We should also probably wrap this up pretty soon.
The lesson is kind of a good wrapping up thing.
Yeah. 2 more.
Yeah, my biggest lesson here was this sport is getting incredibly fast. And by that, doesn't just mean like there are a few people that are redefining the sport, but like there's this wave of pros that I like to include myself in, that are all just like at the same level almost, that are just like have these gigantic engines that are really fast, that are really fit when they show up to these races. So this half distance is almost turning into like an Olympic distance effort. And there is no like battle of attrition. It's racing from start to finish. And what comes with that isn't just like, I have to learn how to put out really good power for 56 miles, but it's like the transitions become longer, because what matters besides just getting into T1 is the last 200 meters of the swim, doing T1 right, getting on the bike and hammering that first mile, trying to get your shoes on, trying to assert your position in a pack and getting moving. So like that's all included in T1 now. And that's super important because that's a make or break point in the race. And it's the same with like going up hills, cresting hills, paying attention to the draft zones. Like all of these little things matter so much, that I've never thought about before racing as an age grouper. And this is going to take a lot of work. So, and that's the same going into T2. It's like, how do you get your position going into T2? How do you get your shoes on quick? How do you start running at a fast pace right away? How do you get a nutrition along the way? It's like all of these things, besides just like putting out your own effort, is super important, because if everybody put out their own effort and just did the fastest race they could, everybody's at the same fast level. So they're all trying to make a difference in their own way. So, I need to get on board with this is a race now. And, all these little things matter. And I suck at the little things right now. So we got to have some transition boot camp soon.
Yes, sir. You also said that you're too chill at the start line.
Yeah. If anyone has any suggestions for that, legal suggestions
to get amped.
Yeah.
And is this the end of your season? It's almost September. Are you done?
No, I'm gonna do Cabo 70.3. We're going to Mexico. Yeah, that's the plan right now. Because I want to keep training a little bit right into November, and then I'll call it a season after that. That's in early November, so taking November off probably, and then starting to build back up for 2024. No, I did not get my shoes on fast. It was really slow. Don't look at my transition times.
I've got a video of his T2.
Well, I'm going to cut that video when we publish it. So,
and then we'll put the uncut version up for paying customers.
Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. We've been here for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Everybody should just go about their days now. So.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions that we did not answer, or any topics for chit chat, we're very open. Go to our social media pages, at Freestyle Tri, at Miguel Maddox, at Jenna Hoffler. We are happy to provide anything we can.
And if we didn't answer any questions, comment them on our most recent post and we'll answer it there.
And that's how I'll spend my recovery week.
Answering dozens of questions.
And Jenna can't exercise, so we will be answering your questions.
Yeah, look out for some sweet new drone content, because
yes,
I'm gonna go unbox that right now.
Don't crash it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.